Maybe that's what we should have done. Got real actors. Wonder if Nicolas Cage is free.
Evacuate the building. Evacuate the building.
Hi, I'm Safety Coach Art, Half Nelson, and would you have known what to do if you would receive that alert? Well, if you're paying attention to Coach Art's safety videos, you should have. I mean, seriously, we see how many number of views we get every time we make one of these things. These are real Alice classes, Scooter, so it boggles my mind why you can't share these with your friends and family. You need to, or that's a lap. Well, since you're here, we might as well go over some situational awareness that you're going to need when it comes to evacuating a building. So let's get started. See, I'm situationally aware. Now remember, when you evacuate, you're removing yourself from danger using distance. No kidding, right? But you need to be aware of your surroundings as well. Let me explain. You need to know where you are, like in a classroom, gym, or hallway, and where your exits are, and the type of exit you might need to use. Where are these dodgeballs coming from? Now let's say you start to evacuate, but your route is blocked. That's why it's important to be aware of your surroundings so you can take an alternate route. You might have to evacuate the building out of a window. But if you're on the second story, that could be very difficult. You have to know where that window leads to and if it has access to the ground floor. Another problem you face is that during a violent critical incident, the very nature of the incident can change very rapidly. That means you might have to change your strategy quickly. Now let's say you're given the alert to evacuate, but as you do, the intruder or an object may be blocking your path. In this case, you might have to return to your room, barricade, and prepare to counter. Remember, the goal is to get out of the building as quickly as possible when safe to do so. You have permission to evacuate. You don't need to wait, and there are no set evacuation routes. Now let's talk about rally and reunification points. You need to pay attention to this, Skippy, especially teachers and staff. A rally point is where you first would go when told to evacuate the building. Your reunification point is where you're taken after you meet at the rally point. The reunification point is where attendance will be taken and the reunification process with your parents will start. So here are two questions for you. Teachers and students, do you know where your reunification point is? Do you know where your rally point is? If your answer to either of those two questions is, I don't know, then that's a problem. Now, I would suggest that you take a moment and find out the answer to those two questions by the end of the day. Remember, during a violent critical incident, you are the first responders, so it's important that you know this stuff. Now let's talk about situational awareness in general by using Cooper's color codes of awareness. Remember we did that a few years ago? Time to pay attention again.
The first stage is white. In this stage, you're unaware of your surroundings and unprepared. You're not paying attention to your environment. Basically, it's like going to a steakhouse and asking about the vegan option. You're totally unaware of everything around you.
Up next is yellow, or as I like to call it, mellow yellow, man. This is where you should be. You're relaxed, you're aware of your environment, and you're centered. You're taking it all in and making yourself this awesome aura of yellow, and you're aware of your environment because you're flexible. See what happens when you're aware?
Art, you have a phone call on line 1.
I'll be right there. They handed me this so I could read it to you because it's apparently important. The next stage is orange. Side note, I like the color orange. Not sure why that's relevant. Pause for effect. In this stage, you have a heightened sense of situational awareness. You get a sense that something could be wrong. You look at the situation and come up with a plan of action using your Alice strategies. You are prepared in this stage. I could have done that. Now the next stage is red. Now you're responding to the threat. This is where your knowledge of Alice kicks in, and if you've been watching Coach Art's safety videos, you would know what to do. You're now deciding to either barricade, counter, or evacuate, and you're taking the necessary steps to protect yourself and your fellow classmates. Jake, Chris, get to the chopper! Dr. Rhoda, move the chopper!
Now the last stage is black. You're not prepared. You're overwhelmed with fear and you're experiencing sensory overload from everything that's going on around you. And the worst part about being in this stage is you can't come up with a plan for what to do. That's why teachers, you need to go over this stuff with your students. Make the time now as opposed to later so everyone can stay out of this stage.
Now I want to thank you for coming to my presentation today, and I hope you learned something about evacuation and situational awareness. Remember, I don't want you scared. I want you prepared. And if you're not talking about this with each other, then that's a lap. Where are these dodgeballs coming from?